Emeka Okafor sat in the corner of his sprawling penthouse, glass of aged whiskey in hand, while the city lights of Lagos twinkled like a million tiny promises he could never keep. At 28, he had everything the world told him a man could desire: a towering skyscraper for an office, fleets of luxury cars, yachts docked along the coast, and a fortune most men could only dream of. Yet, as he watched the laughter and flirtatious glances of the women surrounding him, Emeka felt a hollowness he could not fill. Every smile seemed calculated, every compliment rehearsed. They didn't see him, the man behind the wealth. They only saw his bank balance, his name, the legend of Emeka Okafor. Parties, expensive dinners, exotic trips. He had done it all, and yet the void in his chest grew heavier with each passing day. He sighed, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Is this all there is?" he murmured to no one in particular. Around him, laughter and music continued, but it all sounded distant, hollow. A woman approached, her eyes sparkling with interest, but he could already see the thought behind her smile. How much does he have? Will he give me a good life? Emeka forced a polite smile and nodded, but inside his heart recoiled. He wanted something real, something genuine, a connection that had nothing to do with wealth, power, or prestige. But in a world where everyone wanted a piece of the billionaire, finding authenticity seemed impossible. That night, as the city roared outside his floor-to-ceiling windows, Emeka made a decision. He would leave it all behind: the skyscrapers, the glittering parties, the endless chase for superficial affection. He would disappear. Not just from Lagos, but from the life that had trapped him in a golden cage. The next morning, while the city still slept, Emeka began to plan his escape. Not just a physical departure, but a reinvention. He would become someone else, someone unrecognizable. Perhaps only then could he discover if love, real love, truly existed. And somewhere, far from the glitter and the gold, a simple village girl awaited a chance encounter that would change both their lives forever. By dawn, the city was quiet, its usual chaos muted under the soft light of the rising sun. Emeka Okafor moved silently through the corridors of his penthouse, pausing for one last look at the world he was leaving behind. The gold-plated fixtures, the endless shelves of awards, the panoramic view of Lagos, all symbols of success, yet all meaningless without someone to share them with. He packed only what he needed: a few clothes, some money, just enough to start fresh, and left behind the luxuries that had long since lost their charm. The drivers, the bodyguards, the aides, none of them questioned his departure. They were used to Emeka's sudden whims, but this one was different. This time he wasn't running for business or pleasure. He was running from his own hollow life. To truly experience normalcy, he needed a disguise. Gone was the designer suit, the polished shoes, the expensive watch. He emerged from his penthouse as a man no one would recognize. Simple clothes, worn shoes, and a humble demeanor. The billionaire title was gone, stripped away, leaving only Emeka, the man seeking a life that wasn't defined by money. He took a cab to the outskirts of Lagos, heading to a quiet coastal village he had read about in old travel journals. A place untouched by the chaos of the city, where life moved slowly, and people still lived by honesty and hard work. The thought of anonymity thrilled him. For the first time, he wouldn't be judged by his wealth, his name, or his reputation. He would be judged only by who he was. When Emeka arrived, the village greeted him with calm simplicity. Narrow, dusty roads, children running barefoot and laughing, women carrying baskets of farm produce, and fishermen hauling nets by the water's edge. The air smelled of salt and earth, a stark contrast to the perfume and exhaust fumes of Lagos. Here no one knew him, no one cared about Emeka Okafor, billionaire. Here he could be just Emeka. As he walked through the village, observing the rhythm of everyday life, he noticed her, the girl who seemed to embody the very simplicity he had been craving. She was bending over a small plot of land, tending to vegetables with gentle care, her laughter mingling with the cawing of birds. Something about her presence made the world feel lighter, more real. Emeka felt a strange, unfamiliar pull in his chest, a sense that fate had brought him here not just to escape, but to discover something he had been searching for all his life. A love not built on wealth or status, but on honesty, kindness, and the quiet beauty of a life truly lived. Little did he know, their meeting would spark a journey neither of them could have anticipated, one that would challenge every notion of love, loyalty, and choice. The sun was climbing high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the village. Emeka had spent the morning wandering along dusty paths, observing the villagers' routines with a mix of curiosity and amusement. Children played barefoot, chickens darted across yards, and smoke curled from cooking fires, carrying the aroma of fresh yams and grilled fish. It was a life so different from the polished chaos of Lagos that it made his chest ache with an unfamiliar longing. As he turned a corner near a small stream, he saw her. A young woman, bending over a patch of tilled soil, was laughing as she tried to shoo away a stubborn goat that had wandered too close to her vegetables. Her hands were rough from work, her clothes simple but neat, and her hair tied back with a colorful scarf. She moved with a natural grace, completely absorbed in her small world. Emeka couldn't look away. There was something magnetic about her, a warmth that seemed to belong not to the village, but to the very earth itself. He found himself stepping closer, wanting to study her more, when suddenly, "Hey! Watch where you're going!" she snapped, startling him. In her rush to chase the goat away, she tripped over a rock and nearly fell into the stream. Without thinking, Emeka lunged forward and grabbed her arm, steadying her just in time. She straightened up, glaring at him with wide, incredulous eyes. "What are you doing, stranger? Trying to drown me?" I just didn't want you to fall," Emeka said, smiling awkwardly. He had almost forgotten how to speak normally without the polished charm of high society. She studied him for a moment, brushing dirt off her skirt, then gave a small huff of laughter. "You city people are always so clumsy. Next time maybe just watch where you step." He laughed, genuinely, feeling a spark of joy he hadn't known in years. "I'll try," he said, though he knew he wouldn't. Something about her presence made him feel light, unburdened, almost human again. "I'm Adaeze," she said, finally offering a hand to shake, her smile softening. "And you are?" I'm Emeka," he said, keeping it simple. No mention of wealth, no titles, no grandeur. Just a man standing in a village stream, talking to a girl who could probably manage a goat better than he could. Adaeze laughed again, shaking her head. "Emeka, huh? Well, Emeka, you're lucky I didn't let that goat give you a taste of its horns. It's a feisty one." He watched her, fascinated by the ease with which she spoke, her genuine humor, and the kindness that seemed to radiate from her even in this small, sun-drenched moment. No pretense, no agendas, just her real and alive. Over the next hour they walked along the stream, talking about simple things. The crops, the village, the laughter of children playing nearby. Emeka was enthralled by her stories, her laughter, the way she looked at the world with patience and gratitude. He had spent a lifetime surrounded by people who wanted from him, not for him, and yet here was someone whose eyes saw him as just a man, not a bank account or a name. At one point, Adaeze reached down to grab a stray branch for firewood, and Emeka offered to help. She shook her head. "I can manage," she said, but he insisted, and she finally laughed, letting him carry the bundle. The laughter, light and musical, followed him long after. By the time the sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting the village in warm amber light, Emeka realized something extraordinary. He was captivated, not by her beauty alone, though she was undeniably lovely, but by her honesty, her simplicity, and her unshakable sense of self. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the first stirrings of a feeling he had almost forgotten existed. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could find the love he had been searching for all his life, not in glittering palaces or extravagant parties, but here in a quiet village with a girl named Adaeze. As they parted for the evening, Emeka caught himself watching her walk away, thinking this is what I've been missing. Little did he know, their first meeting was only the beginning. The threads of fate had begun weaving their lives together, And soon, everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and happiness would be put to the ultimate test. The village woke slowly the next morning, sunlight spilling across the dusty roads and waking the scent of fresh earth and cooking fires. Emeka had chosen to stay, for reasons he didn't yet fully understand. Something about the simplicity of this place, and about Adaeze, made the bustling city and all its glittering distractions seem distant, almost unreal. He found her outside her small, tidy home, kneeling by a patch of tomatoes and okra. The goat from the previous day bleated lazily nearby, clearly on better terms with its keeper today. Adaeze looked up, saw him and waved. "Morning, Emeka. Ready to work?" she called, teasing. "I think so," he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. The idea of learning farm chores made him slightly nervous. "I'm not very good with, well, anything outside a boardroom." Adaeze laughed, a sound that immediately brightened the quiet morning. "You'll survive. Mostly. Just don't try to outsmart the goat." He chuckled, and as the day went on, Emeka learned the rhythm of village life. He helped Adaeze fetch water from the well, carry baskets of vegetables, and even attempt planting seeds in the tilled soil. Each task was a challenge, yet every mistake brought laughter instead of scorn. Adaeze's patience and humor eased his clumsiness, and he found himself enjoying work in a way he never had with his staff or assistants in Lagos. At one point, a stray chicken ran between his legs, and he nearly toppled over, flailing like a man completely unaccustomed to farm life. Adaeze doubled over with laughter, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. "You're hopeless," she exclaimed, but her tone was warm, not mocking. "I may be hopeless," he said, smiling sheepishly, "but I'm learning from the best teacher." Her gaze softened, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them, laughter and the golden sunlight around them. Emeka felt something stirring in his chest, a connection deeper than anything he had ever known. They shared lunch under the shade of a mango tree, simple yam porridge and grilled fish, but to Emeka it was a feast. As they ate, Adaeze spoke of her dreams, her love for her family, and her hope that the village would continue to thrive despite the encroaching changes of the city. Emeka listened, captivated, realizing how little he had truly listened in his life of opulence and distraction. By afternoon, the two were sitting by the stream, feet dangling in the cool water, the soft ripples reflecting the sun. Silence passed between them comfortably, punctuated only by the distant calls of birds or the occasional laugh from children playing nearby. "Emeka," Adaeze said suddenly, "why did you really come here? Most young men like you don't just wander into a village for no reason." He hesitated. Part of him wanted to confess everything, to tell her he was a billionaire escaping a life of shallow relationships, but another part of him wanted to stay invisible, to see if she could care for him, not his wealth. Instead, he shrugged lightly. "Maybe I just wanted to see life from a different view. To understand what matters." She smiled knowingly, as if she understood more than he was letting on. "I think you'll find what you're looking for here," she said softly. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Emeka felt an unfamiliar weightless warmth in his chest. Each shared moment, each laugh, each simple task they performed together deepened a bond he could neither ignore nor explain. For the first time in his life, wealth and power seemed irrelevant. All that mattered was the small, genuine moments with Adaeze, their laughter, shared silences, and the feeling that perhaps he had finally found someone who could see him for who he truly was. And somewhere deep inside, Emeka realized he was falling in love. The village had grown comfortable with Emeka's presence. To the villagers, he was just a quiet, helpful young man who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. But even in the simplicity of the village, whispers traveled fast. One morning, while Emeka helped Adaeze repair a small fence near her garden, an elderly villager approached, squinting curiously at him. "You're not from around here, are you?" the man asked, his eyes narrowing. "There's something different about you. Not just your city ways. Your manners, your clothes, your confidence." Emeka smiled politely. "I'm just passing through, sir." I like the village. It feels real. The man grunted, unconvinced, but walked away. Emeka watched him go, a small knot of unease tightening in his chest. Even here, in a world so far removed from his former life, the past could still find him. Later that day, as he and Adaeze walked along the riverbank, he noticed a group of villagers whispering and glancing his way. One young man lingered a little too long, eyes lingering with curiosity, perhaps suspicion. Emeka didn't know if it was intuition or gossip, but he felt the first prickling fear of discovery. Then there was the governor's daughter. Though she had not yet arrived, Emeka knew word of his presence would eventually reach the city. She was beautiful, cunning, and used to getting what she wanted. He could already imagine the look of surprise and entitlement on her face when she discovered he was in the village. Still, for now, he pushed these worries aside. With Adaeze, there was laughter, ease, and a rhythm he had never known. He helped her fetch water, repaired broken fences, and even tried his hand at cooking, though Adaeze insisted he stick to simpler tasks after a near disaster with the yam porridge. She laughed at his mistakes, never mocking, only offering gentle guidance. It was in these ordinary moments that Emeka realized something extraordinary. His feelings for Adaeze were growing deeper than he had anticipated. Her genuine kindness, her laughter, the way she moved through life with honesty and humility. He had never met anyone like her. That evening, as they sat under the giant mango tree watching the sun dip behind distant hills, Emeka felt the truth settle in his heart. He was falling in love, completely and irrevocably, with a girl who had no idea who he really was. But alongside the warmth of his feelings came the shadow of doubt. Could love survive the moment his secret was revealed? Could Adaeze see past the wealth and the life he had left behind? And even more pressing, was he willing to risk it all to stay in the life he had chosen, or would the lure of his former world pull him back? For now, though, he allowed himself to simply be. To laugh with her, to share small victories, to feel alive in ways he had forgotten were possible. And as the first stars appeared in the twilight sky, Emeka made a silent promise. No matter what the world demanded of him, he would protect this connection, this feeling, and this girl, because he had never known anything so real, so worth holding on to. Part 1 closed on that quiet, tender note. A billionaire lost in a village, discovering that love is not measured in wealth or status, but in small moments, laughter, and the courage to open one's heart. Subscribe to this YouTube channel so you won't miss Part 2, where secrets, jealousy, and challenges will test Emeka and Adaeze's growing bond.